to the 40K Fireside podcast, where we discuss everything to do with competitive Warhammer 40K with your hosts Vik VJ and David Gaylord.
Hello everyone, we are back. You might think Tim is a new and familiar face, but it's not the first time Tim and I have worked together. We've just been doing the Votann Masterclass together, which launched this week, and I wanted to get Tim on the channel. We had a great time chatting and me learning from Tim. Wanted to get him on the channel and talk all things Votann, because in all seriousness, it's something that we haven't really talked about much on this channel at all. So welcome, Tim. It's good to have you here.
Hey, hello. I'm really happy to be here. Really glad that I can be here and can finally bring some more dwarves overall to the world, to the
Hell
people
yeah.
here. We need
There we
more.
go. More dwarf players. It's a good time.
Yes.
It's an excellent time to get into it.
Oh yeah.
And like I mentioned, Tim and I have just launched the Votann Masterclass as well, which is about 5 hours long. Tim has like well over 30 games on the new Codex. If you go to 40K Fireside, like I'm showing you, you can just go into the Votann Masterclass here. And there we go. You'll get access to a video like this, and you can see we talk about lots of different things, the pros and cons. We've got the steeljacks here, which I'm sure we'll be talking about. This section here, where we're going over like all of the new data sheets and how they fit into one another. And Tim is an absolute master, of course, when it comes to Votann, and that's kind of our endearing effort to connect the best players in the world with you guys at a great affordable price. There we go. So you don't have to sit down and slog through what is good, what's not, waste some money on some models which might not be so great, and build your steeljacks in the wrong profile, perhaps.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So why don't we jump in? We're going to be going through all of the data sheets today, and I thought what would be cool as well is we should go through the detachments as well, just to give Tim's perspective on what he thinks is strong, and we'll probably go through like the pros and cons for each one as well, I imagine.
Yes,
Nice.
of course.
Tim, I'm not super familiar. I've gone with the new data sheets last. Do you want to start with the new data sheets first, or go with the old ones first?
I mean, I would say I would personally even start with like how the list is right now here, because I like it overall that we have like some characters first here to give like good perspective, and then we can work down there. Because
Nice.
honestly, there's already my first one of the favorite character model that was an index and still today. This is the Iron Master.
The Iron Master, nice.
Yes.
Do you want to have a let's keep it as auto include overperformer?
Yeah,
I totally.
and maybe the last one could be Grudge the Codex maker or something, but
I'm a fan of that one. I like
yeah,
that.
totally. Yeah, so let's start really easy with the Iron Master. So for everybody that doesn't know him, I will just go quick over it. It's basically a model, has damage 3, anti-vehicle, anti-monster, 3 up, and shooting and melee. He is lone op if he's within 3 inch of a Votann transport or vehicle. Sorry, not just transport. And he can heal a vehicle for 3 flat as long as the assistant is alive. And that's basically him. He has like 4 small dudes with him, and then he himself. And just to perform him, I would say he's right there. Very fair choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
We talked about this in the masterclass too. The multiple model complex to him is actually kind of nice in some matchups, right? Because you can get more OC and be lone op as well. Like a lot of lone ops are just one OC, right? But he can actually lone up with more than one OC or more than 2, which is more than a Rhino. And there is also a detachment where you can get +1 OC on his unit. Is that correct? So you can actually be like a OC 10 unit that's lone op, which is potentially kind of a nice niche pick in some circumstances.
100%. And besides that, you can always let him join the Thunderkyn. So to give like some of the buffs more to the units overall, and also to make the Thunderkyn a bit more tanky, because you can just take off the first 4 models there, and could still in the end have some sneaky plays where you say, okay, now I first let the some of the smaller models die, and the Thunderkyn will die, and maybe the Iron Master will survive, and now he's lone up and you cannot shoot him anymore. There's some good options to play him, and also some good enhancements like sustain 2 or the +1/2 wound enhancement that could just fit perfectly on him for the Thunderkyn.
Yeah, nice, makes sense. I don't recognize the next one. Is this the Einhar champion?
Yes, this is the champion. This is the little dude that makes impact models and is a happy little guy. And I would honestly say for him, I'm kind of feel I want to put him in overperformer because I think in the end, what are we talking here? He has 6 attacks, strength 6, AP 3 damage too. And this AP3 actually matters a lot because in Index, as example, he can now get to AP5, and he also in the charge make death wounds. Like on a 2-up on the charge, he makes D3. On a 6, he makes D3 plus 3, and that means he can pretty reliable kill like 5 scouts. I mean, not kill 5. Most likely, he will kill 1 on the charge, and then will kill like 4 on melee or 3. But it's enough to at least make a point that basically both sides are just 1 OC. And like in some detachments, he's quite nice in terms of the enhancements. Like like in the 12 detachment, he can get up to damage 4 with 6 attacks, what is really good as well. The downside is in the end, and this is something I'm seeing a lot of right now, is the points. Like he is quite costly for what he's doing. And it's also the problem that most of the times you just don't have the points for him. So in the end, I would probably say the Iron Master goes a bit more to the Iron Master will stay there, and we'll just put him for here for now and be happy.
Nice.
And that's
Yeah, I think he kind of struggles to find a place in some regards, right? Like in Votann, like the solo character units are a little bit harder to make work, I think. Is that fair to say? Apart from maybe one of the 2 new ones, perhaps. But yeah, he used to be played quite a bit in the old Index, right?
Yeah, basically, like in my old list, I had him most of times with me, basically because we had like this Hekaton could fit 12 people, and you could say Hekaton goes 10 with the Berserks, then champion takes 2 places, so they were always like a perfect fit, and also especially like when we go like before the before where we had like more actions in the game, the champion was always nice. Right now we still have some actions, but like it's not that common anymore. He is still a good piece to have a counter charge unit, but it's more like if you have the points, you can take him. If you have like if you have like 15 to 20 points more, depending on what enhancement you take and whatever, you could get like 3 steeljacks or like a 5-man sort of berserks, what will maybe do the job better and doing also in some other stuff better.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think there's a unit here which I cannot see on the tier list, which I'll add, that we'll get to later, which now splits, which I think gets around that unit count problem, I think, really well, and you really want to play quite a few of those. Yeah. What's this next one? This is the Grimnir, is it?
Yes, this is the Grimnir, and honestly, you could actually put it here. Basically, what is this character? Because what is the Grimnir doing? So, at first, the unit he joins can only be warriors. Like in Index, he gave the unit +1 toughness. Now he gives the unit a 5-up feel no pain and just a 6-up. What sounds okay, but besides that, he basically has nothing really to give. Like he can anti-battle shock a unit in 12 that failed the battle shock. But that's it. Like you don't want to spam warriors, and this is the main problem. Then that you just don't have a use case for him. And even if he gets cheaper, he's no lone op, so it's just a 3-man unit. He shoots okay with like having 6 shots, hitting on 2s, 6 AP2 D3 damage. But it's also once again we need the points for something else. And I honestly don't see him anywhere right now in the game, so I would at least go for underperform. He is not that bad that you can never play him. Like if somebody wants to have the little space dwarfs that basically is a wizard, go for it. I just don't see him right now.
Yeah. So I'm assuming. Oh, so this is in straight underperformer. Now
Yes.
we've changed the list up a little bit because I've included the unit that we were just about to talk about. Why don't we continue with the non-characters and go straight into a bit of a spicy one here? These are the Jaggers, right? Straight into auto include. Yeah.
Jaegers. Jaegers are basically our main unit for the first and second turn in terms of having map control, having play style over holding objectives, and they will keep that depending on the enemy until the 5th turn. So basically, what are Jaegers now? Jaegers are still like this little unit that basically has an infiltrate move. They have a D6 reactive move, what is always nice. That's also not locked just to the movement phase, what's really good. Like their weapons are kind of fine. Like before, you play like in the Index, you played them with knives and pistols. I would now play them all the time with shotguns because in the end, these guys will 99% of the time will just advance to move block the enemy. or
Mhm.
just stand on objective, and then they can shoot at least a little bit there.
Yep.
And what makes this unit so good, and this is the only thing where I think we will just jump straight down and take one more of the units out
Yeah,
there
yeah.
because they're just together, it's the
Mhm.
carrier. So like the carrier allows the Jaegers to be split up.
Mhm.
And what does this mean? We now have a 90-point unit, what's already quite cheap for like 10 models infiltrate. And now we can split them up to a 5-man squad, which means we have a 45-point unit. This has an reactive move. This is 5 OC that can still, in best case, if you roll a 6 in that runs, can go 12 straight forward,
Mhm.
or can just reactive move back into the carrier and can hold objectives, what is amazing in terms of points for its value. Still has a
Yeah.
grenade keyword and still like 2 special weapons that have like anti-monster 3+ and a precision weapon. And of course, will they kill something? Probably not, but it's just sometimes sometimes the APM launcher will hit and makes like 4 damage into a rhino or something. This is
Mm.
just 3 damage basically.
Yeah, and like a 45-point unit that can be OC5 on a point to contest it, can move block, can infiltrate, or could just stay as the 10-man infiltrate and can reactive move is like such a good piece for like
Yes.
blocking. Like you could just chuck this unit away and you don't really care very much. And especially if it's going to allow you to get a bit larger unit from their army out of position to where you can then like trade up against it. Like you want to block a rapid ingress, you want to move block something, chuck a grenade, move block, wrap a rhino or something like that. These guys are fantastic at that.
Yes, and besides that, like where we talked a bit, we talked much deeper in the masterclass about it, like especially on WCT terrain, but of course on other terrain pieces as well. There's like crazy possibilities in terms with the reactive move and resurrection prospect, where you can make a double reactive move, where you can be and where you cannot be. Basically, it's like
Yep.
it's really good. And like we talked already, the carrier allows the Jaegers to be split up. And what is the carrier? The carrier is a 75-point transport that allows to get the Jaeger split up. The guy has a 9er scout move, what is amazing because we lost scout at the Sagittars. So basically, we need something else that can scout. It's super small. Like I think it's the smallest transport I've ever seen in the game. Like even when you see like Venoms that are just where like every model is broken up, or like sticking on top of it, you would say, okay, this is small, and you see this and be like, no, this is small.
Yeah.
And besides this, what does the carrier else give? The carrier says if it hits something that is not a vehicle or monster, you get -1 to hit on this. What is still a really amazing buff because there's not many things in the game that do it. Most of the times it's like an enhancement or something. And of course, it has a fire index, so you can basically drive somewhere. Then you have like 6 shots with damage too, what is nice to have. And then you have like the little guys inside that can shoot as well. So you actually have quite a lot of volume out for basically 120 points, right? 75. Yes. So it's like just a really amazing unit, and it has a smoke keyword, what no other unit in the game from Votann has. What could maybe save him sometimes. Honestly, no. If the enemy will shoot him, he will most likely die. But just to be there and once again saying like, okay, Jaegers are at the point, Jaegers go in the carrier. Now the enemy needs to kill the carrier. Now the enemies need to kill the Jaegers that fall outside. He needs to sacrifice so much stuff there. And sometimes you will roll the 1 on the last scan. Sometimes you will roll the 2 on the melter, and you will not wound the carrier or not hit the carrier, whatever. And then he stays there, and you like, what do I do now? So really good unit.
Yeah, the smoke keyword being a little bit unique to it, but they're also really small as well, right? So you can hide them like very
Yes,
easily. They're
basically everywhere.
just a little bit larger than a Votann bike, right? So yeah, really easy to hide, which is really beneficial in a lot of ways.
Yes, and then to go back to our normal way, let's go for the characters. And now we have the Kahl. And oof, oh boy, I know a lot of people will not like it. Oh god, I think I have. Where is he?
About to have a controversial opinion, are you, Tim?
Yes, totally. I just think I killed the Kahl.
One moment. We'll bring Kahl back in a second.
Yes.
No, you really did kill him. Okay, I'll respawn Kahl in a second. Don't worry about it.
Yes, respawn Kahl. So basically, at first, what does the Kahl do now to go not already with the tier list? So basically, he says, "Hey, okay, cool. If I kill something, you get a judgment token, not judgment, a yield point, affinity point." And he gives the unit where he is in lethal hits, in shooting and melee, and he can give his unit the deep strike ability, or he can give them a 5-up invul. So there is like some way how you can combine him with like the Hearthguard to have like a really good damage output. But
Mhm.
if you don't do that, like there's no real use case for him. So I would basically put him like here because he's playable. Like there is a way to play him. He's
Mhm.
not super bad, but it's like if you don't go for this, you basically will never be like if you don't go for the 10.5 card, you will never play him and never see him in the game.
Yeah. So it's more or less like it's at the bottom of fair choice. If you've got like 10 Hearthguard from your existing collection,
Yes.
and you're like, I want to get a list together for this weekend to play, like, yeah, that's a fair choice at the bottom side of it. That makes complete sense. I feel like this next one is going to be an auto include as
Yes.
well.
So
Uthar.
basically, we have Uthar. So like without talking, he just gets up there. So what does Uthar now do? Uthar basically says, he basically has the Gilliman aura. So
Mhm.
in 12-inch, game, each battle round, you can do a strat for 1 CP less. What's amazing. Like I just
Mhm.
ask a marine player if he wants to go out of it without like having one additional CP. Basically, he
Mhm.
combines really well if you want to play bikes in terms of the bikes do the first strat, the bikes do the second strat. Each time on a 5-up, you get the CP back. So basically, the
Mhm.
thing that Guard is doing to just generate like more CP. And in the end, he's still kind of beefy in melee. Like you need to save him for like 4 turns, 3 turns,
Mhm.
something like that. But like in the end, he still has a flip for damage, wound. Sorry, not for damage. Like he has a flip for hit reroll, for wound reroll, or for a save that you fail.
Mhm.
Just here, the wound flip doesn't trick death wounds because the wording there is a bit fucked up because
Mm.
it's an unmodified, not a modified hit,
Ah.
something like that. But besides that, I mean, you played against him. Like he can kill quite some characters in the end,
Yeah.
and he's also
He,
kind of beefy to deal with.
yeah, and just the CP free stratting is huge on a
Yes,
unit that's pretty cheap as well to begin with.
yes, totally.
Really big.
So let's go to the next one, and here, unfortunately, I need to put these guys in underperform.
Oof,
So
these are the
this is
Hearthskin
the
warriors, right?
yes, this is the
Hmm.
Warriors, and I feel really bad because just from the data sheet alone, I would probably even put them in overperformer because I
Hmm.
would still say they are the best or nearly the best battle line in the game.
Hmm.
And but then once again, how is this unit basically working before in the index? There were Sagittars that could split them up.
Hmm.
Now Sagittars are a problem on their own, and we will come to this after this right now. But without having like the ability to split them up for like easy points, and especially now having the Jaegers that can do that, there's
Hmm.
no real use case anymore for them. Especially because right now we basically are so short on points. Like everywhere we can, we want to have cheaper points, and because
Hmm.
the meta as well is so killy that basically everything you bring out will die. So why should I bring a Sagittar with warriors out if I can do the same with the carrier and Jaegers?
Hmm.
And basically the survive chances are, of course, it's not the same. Sagittar and warriors will survive a bit more, but that's it.
Yeah,
And
they both will
besides,
probably die to repulse executioner though.
yes, pretty durable.
Yeah.
The main part for the warriors that changed maybe is that they now have a 5-up invul,
Hmm.
like in the whole unit where the Tain is, and they have a 6-up feel no pain all the time. But once again, they lost ignore cover, what really hurts them. They get hit rerolls of 1, what is nice, but in the end, it's in my opinion not enough. There
Yeah.
is a detachment where you can play them. This is like the transport detachment
Hmm.
because of how a strat works there. Secure positions, you will probably know that if you look at this here. But besides that, I just don't really see them in the list right now.
Yeah, I mean, why would you play like 10 warriors and 2 Sagittars when you could play like two carriers and 2 units of Jaegers? So you just get almost you get 2 times as many little chaff units that reactive move, and then you can build the rest of your list around actual damage and output rather than
Yes,
other stuff. So if you can have a unit that can do like multiple things, where then the rest of your units you're okay with playing a unit that doesn't do anything apart from damage, it's like a really nice way of balancing your list. I'm
100%.
going to assume that the Sagittar is probably right next to them to some degree. Oh,
No, no,
grudge the
no.
Codex.
Grudge. Like whoever did this should be grudged to the death. It's like the Sagittar. They massacred the boy. It's
Mhm.
like the Sagittar. I think was the data sheet that got the big nerf that I ever seen.
Okay.
So basically, what does it lost? It lost basic one OC, one toughness. It lost scout. It lost the sustain 2,
Hmm.
sustain D3 on the big gun. So 4 things it lost. Like
Mm.
we could live with the OC, we could live with the sustained, we could even lift, I would say, with the toughness, but losing the scout move on this transport just hurts so hard because once again, the Sagittar is a small transport, but it's not super small. And because it's now toughness 9, he has no defensive strats because, especially turn 1, we just cannot have AOC and like the one attachment where we have for them. So it will most likely die if anybody with actual shooting shoots in there. And without the scout move, you have actually problems of bringing it turn 1 on a objective marker. And even for turn 2, it could be hard because then it wants to stage somewhere and everything. And we have carriers, like carriers doing this a lot times better. That's all I can say about there.
So I'm starting to see a trend here, which is all the old stuff is pretty mediocre, and the new stuff that Games Workshop has just printed is pretty strong. Funny how that works.
How could this happen? But yeah, at least kind of. So
Yeah.
next one, we will go with Thunderkyns.
Yeah.
And Thunderkyns, I would love to put them here because let's go quick over Thunderkyns. What have Thunderkyns get? Basically, all the weapons now have damage 3.
Nice.
They have the ability to give ignore cover out. What's amazing in an army where you don't have AP and no ignore cover.
Yeah.
The downside there is that the unit basically lost 1 wound, so they only have toughness 6 2 wounds, not 3 wounds anymore. This costs them a lot of durability. Like a lot of times when they will get out, they will shoot once and then they will die because the enemy will never let this unit live. And they have like some really, really strong, nearly overpowered combinations in terms of getting the conversion. Because conversion says basically if you're outside of 12 inches of an enemy, if you roll a 4 up, it's always a critical wound, a critical hit. And if you have something like lethals, what you already have on them, and you can get sustained 2s on them, you see where this comes down. If you then get rerolls to some degree, because reroll 1s or full hit rerolls, whatever, this can spike even more. So like it can be crazy damage on these guys. But the problem is then once again, if you look at them from the damage perspective and into something, it's amazing, especially if they have other Thunderkyn unit that strips the cover before it. But if they just a unit, a 3-man unit that should strip cover for you, they're kind of problematic. Why? Because on one side, they do damage 3 on most of their weapons. You could go for the bolt guns, of course. This is also something I am honestly considering and doing sometimes. But if you go for like the bolt guns, they will never really do damage. And sometimes you want to have the damage on the 3 guys, but if the 3 guys can do damage, you start to argue in your head, okay, if I shoot at this Terminator troop, I can see 3 Terminators. If I shoot with all Thunderkyn, I could kill all of them. If I shoot 2, could still maybe happen or not. But if I shoot only with 1, I could maybe miss with the 2 because I still need to read to rolls 4s. So there's like always an up and down side because a unit that wants to support, that wants to strip cover and to support there, basically don't want to do that much damage, else the enemy can with like go to ground, going for 6 up inwards and whatever, can just get himself out of the danger zone for the other Thunderkyn or the other armies that you can shoot there.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of an anti-synergy, right? Like the unit that is your big damage piece also applies your strip cover. It's a shame that they kind of did it that way. But the little 3-man is kind of nice, and then you could use the 6-man, but obviously you're committing like 9 Thunderkyn at that point. Maybe you could like point to one place and point 1 another place, sort of thing. But these guys do seem to be all round very good. Like they're your like click delete sort of button unit, right?
Yes.
I mean, especially in those detachments where you can get like sustain 2, like that's they crank out a huge amount of damage in that one, or just like sustain 1 in like brand fast oathbound.
Or if they
Which is
just
really
get hit
interesting.
rerolls, like in Prospect as example, because once again we
Oh
get
yeah,
like to 9 auto wounds with damage 3, what's
yeah.
also really good.
Ooh, this next one is a bit of a
Yes.
controversial one as well. Berserks. Why don't we talk about Berserks only in regards to in the Delve detachment? So that's where
So
they're best.
yes, I'm totally fine with that. So if we talk about them in a Delve detachment, I would say they are kind of, let's go with this, push them a bit more, and then just push the Berserk to here. Because in the Delve detachment, they are quite well. Like they have the movement, they have some really crazy things they can do, and especially in terms of how they could support. I mean, honestly, but no, fuck it. Let's go with here. You can
Yeah,
see them
that's what I
better
was
there,
thinking.
and I'm the fucking I love Berserks. I will always love them. Yeah, this looks a lot better. Yeah, I will do that. And yeah, so basically the Berserks are in 12 really good. Like they have advance and charge with +2 movement.
Mhm.
Um, they can with the resurrection from the enhancement, they can get like crazy 3 to 4 inches more movement.
Hmm.
And also because you have infinity points, you can like I played them now about 10 times, Detachment, because right now it's my favorite
Yep.
one. And every game I resurrect at least 10 of these dudes. A lot
Yeah.
of games more. So
Yep.
basically, you have like 200 points more you play with. Speaking with like
Hmm.
that, um,
You
they
really
are
have to like play around that as well. I
yes,
mean, so Tim and I actually played, and Tim and I are going to do a stream game next week sometime. When Tim and I played, I had to be really cautious about like if you're going to go for the unit to kill it, the berserk, you really have to kill the whole thing. Otherwise, they'll just dump all the yield points, which is actually good because then it puts them in hostile
yes,
in the hostile ones. So you really make sure you have to finish them off, and that revive strat is particularly powerful.
yes. Enhancement and threat. Enhancement
Mm.
threat would cost. We don't need to pay for CP for that. Yes,
Yeah,
and
it's
besides that, no problem. Besides that, their damage is kind of a bit of a gamble, but for you and
mhm.
the enemy, like in the end, it's still like 30 attacks with damage 3.
Yeah.
If you depending on which loadout you take, like sometimes you will one tap a land raider, sometimes you will not kill a fucking death guard drone, but it is how it is. Like the biggest part with these guys is basically that in this detachment they have such a huge range where they can go to, and with
Mm.
the 6 inspire consolidate, you will most likely open up a second front in the home base from the enemy.
Yep. Yeah, I
And
mean, 6-inch pylon consolidate, advancing charging berserkers is like the main reason to play the Delta
yes,
detachment. Obviously, if you guys don't know, of course, as well, they get deep strike and battle line, which is battle line's like not as relevant, I guess, right? Like that's a nice boost, but the deep strike is really good because you can rapid ingress them. You can, or if you're playing on a board where there's no middle staging, you can rapid ingress them, or you can just uppity downy them and then threaten your opponent's backfield, which is really good. And yeah, they kind of combo nicely with. I thought, should we go on to maybe the Cthonian Earthshakers, because I think that's
yes,
a really interesting one. Tim was playing them in our game as well, which is a nice combo, I think, in a lot of ways.
yes. And if we take the Earthshakers, they will just go here.
Nice.
So let's next controversial talk from Tim. So hello, Votann world out there.
Yep.
These pieces are amazing. Are they a bit overcost? Maybe, but and we need to think once again. What have we lost? Basically, we have lost basically everywhere. We have every ignore cover. So strats like AOC will hurt us even more than they did before. Strats like -1 to hit can hurt depending like what are you playing, and in
Hmm.
melee it's the same, like interrupts in melee for the 12 detachments especially, -1
Yep.
to hit or something else. And
Yep.
having the ability to just shut it down because you can battle shock with -1 is
Hmm.
already amazing. Then the damage on these guys, of course, they will not instantly kill like 5 Marines, but if these guys can just shoot over 4 to 5 turns into things, they will deal damage here, they will deal damage there, they will kill a Marine here, they will kill a Marine there.
Hmm.
Especially against a lot of armies that just have like 10 cultists in the backfield.
Yep.
They can just nearly murder them in a single go, or like against Eldari or Drukhari, you always need them because they will murder these guys as well pretty easy.
Yeah. Particularly good against both of those armies as well. And,
Yes, 100%.
quite good against Imperial Guard as well. Like anything at Leadership 7, yeah, very, very powerful against, I think. Because, like, failing on an 8 is much more reliable. Like, Guard, if they've got, like, a reinforcement stratagem they want to use, like, Battle Shock them, they can't reinforce. Like, that's particularly really powerful as
Or
well.
just take Necrons, for example, Awakened. Now your
Mm,
character cannot come back up because you're battle shocked and things
yes.
like
Or
that.
the
Like,
can't use the reanimation stratagem as well.
yes, so there's like so much usabilities, or like even for things where you basically say, okay, I want to do a strat, like I want to do something like, what's it called again? Cleanse, but I cannot
Yes.
sacrifice units. Say, okay, I battle shocked. Okay, now my one Jaeger that survived can do the cleanse there.
Mm, yeah.
Or you cannot interrupt, or you cannot basically make heroic, or I
Yep.
just get my +1 to hit because you are battle shocked on a marker. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to
And
use them.
you recommend using the damage 1 shot on these, right?
Yes, totally,
Yes.
100%.
Okay.
Like we need
Don't
to
go for the
charge
damage 2,
disadvantages.
especially in this meta right now, right? I mean, maybe if you've got a huge amount of Marines in your meta or something, but yeah, you want to go for the damage 1, especially with Aldari coming around. And in your Delve list, you actually play like 2 units of 2 of these, right? They're
Yes,
like OC 2 each, I want to
yes. So
say.
you have like
Toughness
four
6,
to
6
five.
wounds or something.
Yes, and also
Yeah.
some melee.
Yeah, they have like some like power swords as well. They're like the most versatile indirect piece. I actually think they're really well designed, in all fairness, because they're not like super fragile that you can just one shot them off the board. They have some melee. Their indirect is not super like oppressive in terms of
Yeah, it's
damage.
not like a manticore or something.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And then in the Delve detachment, you've also got access to the tremor ability where you can -2 to movement and charge, right?
Yes,
Which
to
is pretty
anything.
nice. Oh, yeah, to anything, yeah. Which is pretty nice against like obviously combat matchups, but even slowing like a key thing, like some warp spiders that they thought they were going to get you, or something that has to make a longer charge onto an objective point. Pretty useful. So much utility in these guys. I think at least one and on quite a few lists is pretty powerful.
Yes, 100% agreeing there. And
Nice.
then let's go to the next pick. And now we go to probably one of the things where the voting community once again was really unsure how to place them. And I would say for these guys, they're a complete overperformer. And I would
Oh,
honestly say they're even better than the Earthshakers.
wow, spicy.
So what do we have here? We have the Hearthguard, the Votann Terminators are not Terminators because they have two votes.
Yeah.
They have. So what are these guys basically? You have a 5-man squad with like 5 models, 2 HP, toughness 5, 2 up save.
Mhm.
They have like some fists and melee. Like 5-man squad basically has 4 fists and 1 hammer with damage 3.
Yep.
And then you have like the shooting. You have like 1 weapon that give death wounds. Ignore that. You will not play that anymore. And
Yep.
then you have like plasma guns that got like a bit of a buff because now they have rapid fire one. So
Mhm.
basically, for 135 points, you get a squad that can deep strike.
Mhm.
What is already amazing because we have, outside of the Delve detachment, we don't really have units in our army that can deep strike.
Mm.
Besides these guys will have 10 shots hitting on trees. Also, like beyond Battle 6 skill tree, it's once again super valuable in our army. They get hit rolls of 1 if you
Mhm.
are the closest target, and they have the strength 7, what is okay. Like strength 8 or 9 would be better, but hey, we have 7. AP
Mhm.
3 damage too. So this unit can actually, without the support of a Thunderkyn, without the support of anything else, do a lot of damage into Marines.
Mm. Yep. It's always nice.
Yes, so this
What
is in
are
my
you
opinion
recommending? Like the 5-man or the 10-man?
the 5-man
10-man
all
only.
the time.
Ah.
I would say like it depends, of course, on the list. Like in Delve, I wouldn't play them because we don't need them. In
Sure.
basically every other list, I always have 5 as an auto include in there, just to have like the possibility to say I can rapid ingress 5 guys here on the middle marker. You need to screen your backfield for 2 turns.
Yep.
I have just something that actually can kill like 5 Marines, or not
Mhm.
kill them, but like doing so much damage into him that I'm not worried anymore because your 1 scout can still live there, or like your 1 Grey Knight model can still stay there. And
Mhm.
of course, you can push them once again as a 10-man squad with the Kahl, get the +1 to wound enhancement on him and wound rerolls of 1, and then you can spam like lethal, sustain, wound +1 to wound rerolls, hit rerolls, whatever
Mhm.
on these guys and get crazy amounts of damage, but they're just so versatile to play with. And in the end, it's still 5 dudes with a 2-up save,
Mm.
toughness 5, and all detachments where you play -1 to wound, most likely. So
Yep.
they are not that easy to kill in the end.
And you can usually get like a sharp angle with them
Yes,
near an objective that you can then move and like charge the next turn as well,
yes. Rapid
which is
Ingress
nice.
is the way to go on these guys, of course, because if
Nice.
possible, you want to use both of the abilities.
Yeah, and like you don't really have a lot of rapid ingress targets for most of the
Yes.
other units you play, right? So they kind of fill that role and give you a bit of dynamism as well, which is really cool, I think. I got a feeling this next one is a bit of an auto include as well.
Yes, I would say so as well. So in the end, we have a Hekaton. So like, I feel like in terms of how they worked around the data sheet, how they changed it, it would be more like an overperformer.
Mhm.
But let's be real, in every list or nearly every detachment, you will have at least one of these pieces in.
Yep.
And basically, the Hekaton is now our way to go transport because we have so much units that are so big and I mean, not even cannot fit in the Sagittar, they're not allowed to fit in the Sagittar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So starting with 12 detachment, then Berserks want to in-gear. Starting with Index 6, Thunderkyn want to in-gear.
Mhm.
Or you want to have like steeljacks in there where we will come through. So basically the Hekatons are now our main transport and still our main tank.
Mhm.
Um, they lost like a bit of killability in terms of they have lost ignore cover. So all their guns are worser. But
Mhm.
on the other side, they got sustain 2 on the bolt gun, sustain 1 on the other gun. The beam now has 4 shots
Mm.
and has lethals now. And the main part is they ignore all hit modifiers
Yes.
and the hit rerolls of 1. And you can actually put now the anti-tank gun. It's basically 2 shots with strength 18, AP4. You damage D6 plus 4. So we actually now have a weapon that can go against tanks. You still have a lot of shooting power in terms for an Overwatch. Like David just remembers his little SWAT brother and marginally getting shred to death in the Overwatch.
Yeah. The Hekatons are 220 points?
240.
240, yeah. Hekatons, I think, got better in the new Codex in some way, in my opinion. As someone who's only played against them, because the easiest way to play against them was just to tag them down and then they're -1 to hit, right? Now that they like ignore mods and have reroll ones, oftentimes if you put them on an objective or near it, you will control it or they will be on it, so you're hit +1 to hit. So you're basically stuck in combat on an objective. You're going to shoot yourself. You just like don't care. You're like, okay, great. Stay in combat. 3's rerolling 1s, and you're like, god damn, because you're usually not in cover if you're the attacking person in that perspective. So you're like, okay, cool. Now my AP1 is relevant. 3's rerolling 1s, shoot you out, and it's like really powerful there. And I think a lot of good Votann theory is, and we talk about this a bit as well, is that if you can remove pieces that are good against your land fortresses can like quickly take over the game, which is like a really powerful strategy as well, especially for an OC5 tank that's hard to shift.
Yes, 100%. Like, this is basically the up and downside from them. The biggest downside, I would say, still is that you need to play them really defensively in some matchups because they're not as tanky anymore as they were because mod of the detachments, they don't have the access to AOC.
Yep.
And like we said before, if the meta will shift more into knights and we see like more anti-tank, you need to argue a bit what you will do. But overall, basically, every army has them in. It just makes sense to have them.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, this next one's interesting because as the reason I know, I used to know absolutely zero Votann, but now I know Votann because I've been working with Tim this week.
Some hours.
Yeah, this next one's kind of interesting, right? Because they've gone down a lot in their role and utility, right? Because of like Jaeger carrier combo, and we're going to be talking about pioneers. These guys have definitely come down, right? Because Tim, you used to play them a lot, right? These like a staple. They gave you a huge alpha strike potential, but now it's kind of like they feel like they're a bit more of a flesh houndy kind of role.
Yes. So I would talk about them once again in in 2 ways. So the first one would be the best in detachment for them, and this is Restoration Prospect, because there they get hit rerolls, they get wound rerolls, what is really good for them. And there they actually are kind of still of a damage unit.
Yeah.
And also with 5 reactive move, what is amazing, and having also a 18-inch move flat forward if they want to. But on the other side, outside of a detachment that supports them that well, they just don't do that much anymore.
Yeah.
So basically, because they are a unit that still wants to come uppy and downy from the sides as a 6-man squad, if you would play them, you will nearly never be on the point, so you will nearly never get your +1 to hit. Of course, you could be another doctrine that if the enemy is there, you get +1 to hit, but it's just like we talk, we see when you play a bit of Votann, it's nearly impossible to just stay in like the first doctrine in turn 4 or 5, where they most likely will come to a point where they actually can see shit outside
and
of your
like
deployment zone.
if your opponent's got a unit on an objective that you can shoot from strategic reserve, they're probably just consigned to letting that die anyway. In all
Yes,
seriousness.
100%. So I see them still in like a very fair choice because I would still in nearly all detachments would take 3 of them.
Yep.
Why? Because on one side, a 3-man squad is still basically screening 80% of your side of your backfield.
Yeah.
You can still pick them off, so the enemy needs to, even after turn 3, think about how do I screen my backfield. And in the end, they still are a 3-man unit that can go for 9 charge in the end with OC6 to maybe take the home base objective from the enemy.
Yep.
They can do actions later on there, and they're just a good target, like after turn 3, to just go in reserve and be like, hey, they could rapid ingress, you still need to screen, like utility. Some damage, of course, they will not kill like a big unit, but in the end, if the enemy has like 5 scouts on the point, you rapid ingress them, you drive forward, you throw a nade, you shoot some, then you go into melee. It should be enough to actually flip the point.
Yep. Nice.
And they're cheaper.
Yeah. Okay, they got cheaper. 10 points cheaper, is it?
Yeah, they cost like
Okay.
I think it's 80 points now for 3.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they kind of combo nicer with the Hearthguard, but also the Earthshaker in some ways, right?
Yes,
Like you
100%.
can like hit the backfield, open up, like threaten rapid ingress, come with the Hearthguard, then put these guys up turn 3 after screening your backfield, threaten the rapid ingress on 4, then come move, hit a home field objective. And like I feel like Votann in some ways, it doesn't love when your opponent just like plays like front first into you. You know what I mean? Like they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna push like super aggressively here and have good units over here. You're like, okay. Previously, it might have been really good against that with how good Berserks were in like in the index, but
Everybody
now
just
you
goes
kind of
forward.
now you want to play much more dynamically than any other
Mhm.
kind of version of it in the past. So like opening up a backfield coming in is like a completely different play style for Votann now, which I think is really interesting.
Yes,
Should we talk about
100%.
what seems to be the most
Buri.
awkwardly designed data sheet?
Yes, he's like honestly, I think you could place him 5 times and put him in every tier list. But
Yeah.
yeah, like Buri. Buri is, I would say, the character that has the most rules and keywords I've ever seen on a unit. In terms of that he's a lone op, he's stealth, he has a search move, he gets back up. It's like, what doesn't he has?
It's
But
got
what doesn't
5
he have?
attacks at strength 12.
Yes, so like 5 attacks, 12, AP 3 damage 3, what's also good at one side and then bad in the other side because he's
Yeah.
like, he should kill things that he will sometimes kill things he shouldn't kill, and then a lot of times he should kill things, but then he shouldn't, then he doesn't kill them because you make like 2 1s and the hit and the wound, and then the enemy makes a 4-up invul, and you're
Yeah.
nothing works here once again. So like I see him right now in 2 detachments playable. This is prospect and this is stealth.
Hmm.
Prospect because there he has an reactive move, and then you can say, okay, I can stay on the point. If you come out with something that can maybe kill me, I will stay there. If there's
Hmm.
coming something out that will kill me, I will just go away.
Yep.
And if you say, and in Delve, he just is really good character in terms of that you can finally have a unit that can heroic all the time and stop that he just dies 2 times in turn, and
Hmm.
still he has like with the 6 inspiring consolidate, he can get like some crazy movement tricks, like we saw in
Mm.
our game where Buri
Mm.
just teleported to the next unit and be like, hello there.
Yep. I feel like
Um,
he's kind of best in persecution prospect because like the reactive move makes him more like a combi lieutenant in some ways,
yes,
and you can like reactive move into the blood surge potentially, which is like the best way. But he also needs like quite specific terrain formats to play well on. I think like you do kind of want to be playing on these L-shaped ruins near objectives style of terrain formats, right? Where they have to kind of come within reactive move to shoot you, but are also within blood surge because the weird part about him is, of course, he's a lone op, but his blood surge is only like a maximum 8-inch blood surge,
yeah.
which like doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, if you had that on a combi lieutenant, you'd probably never use it as well, for example.
Yes, and
Yeah,
then once again, he costs 110 points, what is
yeah.
probably a fair price for a lone up that gets back up, but also like in a lot of games, he will just stay on a point or he will just die. So I think in the end, you can put him like here.
Yep,
Like,
he's very much like a tank shock grenade magnet as well, and your
yes,
opponent just doesn't feel bad sinking that into him.
nope. He's like,
Hmm.
he can have some value, but besides that, there's not really much you can actually do with him. And a lot of times, you'll just get frustrated because the enemy, like you said, tank shock and then charges or shoots him, whatever, and you cannot really do much against it.
Yeah, makes sense. Oh, the next one, maybe a strategist, and in quite a few of your lists you were using him. Seems pretty solid.
So basically, he is pretty straightforward. He's an auto include. So
Yep.
what does he do basically? He gives you the option, if he stays on the point, that you can get an additional infinity token or 1 less. This matters a lot to get in turn 2 and like you better doctrine for a lot of these lot of detachments, and also helps you in like some other, like in the 12 detachments example, to stay in your better turn 1 detach in your hostile acquisition.
Hmm.
And he also gives like steeljack, the ability to heroic and Overwatch for free.
Yep, that's
And he
nice.
only has 45 points, so it's a
Yeah,
really cheap character model that can just screen your backfield, can go with the steeljacks and help them overall to just be better. You will always see at least one in every list, especially because we have so much enhancement or just support
yeah.
enhancements, and he is the way to go.
And because he's not an epic hero. So
Yes.
unless you want to put it on a champion, your basically go-to is this guy, 45 points. And like you can actually just play one in strat reserve and just like come on if you've got 45 points in your list. Like that's perfectly fine for Votann, I think, these days as well.
Yes, 100% there. Like, depending on which matchup you have, you can just say, hey, screen everything out to the last corner. And hey, I have Earthshakers that would say, no, you will not screen that much out. And
Yeah.
so next
Nice.
thing, we have the Defender. And I would love to put him here, but this seems a bit unfair. I think he's just a really, really underperforming unit. So the Defender is like you could say, better hitting brother than the Carrier. But then you look into the data sheet, and he basically has the same defensive. So he's toughness 7. He has 4 up save, 7 wounds, 70 points, what is quite cheap for a vehicle in the end.
Yeah.
But then, like, his abilities is he has move shoot, but just d6.
Mm.
And his weapons are basically you have 9 shots with damage 2. And I'm still not sure if the main gun on him will stay damage 2, because the bikes have the same and there it's only damage 1, but who knows?
Oof, brutal. Yeah.
And the other weapon he could have is a ray gun, and now everybody would be excited. Ray gun, cool. then you look hitting on 4s. Okay, everything hit on 4s. We can live with that.
Yep.
Strength 14. Oh, yes, could work. I think it's AP3, so yeah.
Okay,
And then
Lascannon,
D3
yeah.
plus 3 damage, and you'd be like, oh yes, nice.
Ugh.
Let's play 3 of them, and maybe your Rhino will get 6 damage. Oh no.
Yeah. They are not the best design unit, or like they're like the fire and fade mechanic just doesn't really work well with their base size as well, and they're very easy to kill, so like you don't really want to play the 2-mans because that's quite a few points, really, isn't
Yes.
it? And once you get to that point, like how much is 5 Terminators again, Tim?
135. So
Yeah, so you can play
basically,
5 Terminators instead of 2 Defenders, basically, right? And
yes, and they would
it's
just
a
have more
no-brainer,
gameplay.
which is better on that one.
Yes, he's just like, it's a nice idea. Maybe if like there's get some updates, we will see them. But once again, first we don't really have the points, and also honestly, don't spend that much money on it. Yeah. Then we come to Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom, hell yeah.
Yes, we like Doctor Doom. Everybody likes Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom is probably, I would say, the most middle tier data sheet that you can ever
Yeah.
have. So who is Doctor Doom? How I named him. Doctor Doom is basically one of the new models. His weapon can basically have 3 firing modes. You will normally always shoot with the short firing mode. So it's basically like for each firing mode you get like additional range and additional strength and damage and AP. So you can have, in best case, you have if you're on rapid fire, you have 6 shots, strength 8, AP3, damage 3. What is quite nice, but also if you have hazardous test, that like with a 50-50 you get 3 mortals to yourself. And he is lone up as long as he stays in 3 to an infantry unit. So he is probably our best way to go lone op, in terms of that you always will have lone op. If you just want to lone up, I will still probably go for the Iron Master, because it's more versatile and you most likely have Hekatons and healing is better. There's like in Prospect, as example, you can get a nice enhancement, or some other detachments you can get a nice enhancement, and maybe the enemy fears a bit if he could shoot, but in the end he still needs to get inside of 12 to get his 6 shots out.
Yep.
Like half of the time you just kill yourself. And is he nice? Yes, but also not really that nice in the end. You just don't really have the points most times to play him. And he can be quite good in terms of if you have like the enemy is open on the backfield and you come back on reserve, and you should be able to nearly shoot 5 Marines off a marker. But if one Marine survives and he makes 3 damage himself, the Marine will just throw a nade at him or just shoot the bolt pistol at him, and then he's dead. So it's okay.
Yeah, I think perfectly fair if you bought the model and are like, this is really cool, I want to play this, because he's kind of like the coolest data sheet, I think, of the
Yes.
of Votann. So if you want to play it, like you can definitely figure out ways to make him a perfectly competitive choice, I think, which is a good place to be. You know, he's really fun, really quirky, and you can like get mileage out of him if you play him correctly.
Yes, 100%. And
why don't we start with the ranged steeljacks first? How about
the
that?
shooty ones, yes.
They're both the same image, so pick whichever one you want.
Yeah, basically. So I would just say, there we go. Shooty ones. The shooty ones are quite a fair choice. Basically, they have 36 shots, strength 6, AP 1, damage 1, death wounds. Like you will not see them in that many lists. Like in of course some you will see because in the end they can overwatch for free with 36 shots. If they stay on a point, they will most likely hit on trees, what is really good as well. And then the overwatch goes on forces as well. So like there's some matchups when you play once again against Eldari or against armies that have like a move block like guard or something, where they could do quite a work, especially in like 12 to like clear the move blocks off, or against GSC to just say, you had this unit here, now I shoot you, no, you don't have the unit anymore. But they are once again a bit situational because, like against Marines, the unit really falls down because it's only AP1, so basically no AP.
Yeah.
And they are not that fast once again because only movement 5, and we have other things that want to sit in a Hekaton.
Yep. So kind of
They're
if you're playing a detachment where you don't have where you're combat focused, like the Delve detachment,
yes.
and you don't have a good way of killing a volume of units, then these guys are kind of good in that sense, right?
Yes, 100%. And in the end, they will still lure the enemy out because, like, 10 bolters will not be enough to clear these guys. The enemy actually need to send something in, and then you can start the trading game with that.
Yep. Nice. What about the melee steeljacks? These guys have been pretty popular.
I would actually even go. 1 second. Could you just push the whole side except of Uthar to the right and just put him
like
just
this?
yes, and then Uthar as well, and
and
then
Uthar as well. Nice. There we go.
like that. So we have the melee steeljacks. Probably, I would say, nearly best new data sheet, depending like if you like the carrier more or the melee stage more. And what are these guys? These guys are fucking murder machines. Basically, on these guys, what do you have? You have like 6 attacks per model. So on a big squad, you have 36 attacks. They hit base trees. So once again, we hit on trees. Finally, something with sustained 1 on the weapon. So hitting on 2s, normal case. And if you're on a marker or they control a marker, what like both things are possible for these guys, then you're going down to hitting on 0s. So
yeah.
basically 36 seconds. The weapon itself is 6-2-1, what's once again quite good, like in Power Sword. And like there's a lot of detachments, like it's in the index, where they can get +1 to wound, reroll ones to wound, and AP4. So now we are looking at 36 attacks in the best case that will wound everything that is not toughness 6. On 2s, we reroll 1, so we go to 34 wounds with AP4. So on average, they will murder like 17 Corn Berserks.
Nice.
And even if you go like in vehicles, you will still wound nearly every vehicle in the game on force because there's not many vehicles with toughness 12 in the game. So we are once again looking best case 36 hits. So we have about 18. We have about 18 wounds, and then we have the reroll ones. So we are look once again in like an amazing range of AP4 attacks, and there's not that many vehicles in the game with an invul. So these guys can just nearly kill everything, and even if they don't have the support from like the strat, and also not the support from like the enhancement, it's still 36 attacks hitting on 2s most of the time, sometimes on 1s with strength 6 AP 2 damage 1. So they will murder Marines. They ignore all the damage -1 damage things. It's just a really good unit to have.
Yeah, and the data sheet ability is actually surprisingly good as well. Like
Yes.
the Desperate Escape is very, very relevant, I would say as well.
Oh
'Cause
yeah, if
you could expect to see like a raw data sheet this powerful just to have a terrible data sheet ability, but actually this one is super annoying to play around, to be honest.
Yes, like the data stability is basically if you are in combat with them and you're not a vehicle or monster, and you want to fall back, you need to make a desperate escape test. And if you already need to make a desperate escape test, you get +1 on it. So like this is just really cool if you can take a lot of things and just basically lose on average like a third of your unit there.
Yeah, nice, awesome. Okay, so that's been like all the data sheets. What about the detachments? Because I think this is going to be an interesting one as well. Why don't we talk about, Tim, for the context of this, a singles environment but on WTC? I think that's probably like a fair and balanced way of thinking about it.
Yes, totally. So let's go with the first one. And it's once again a bit hard to tell like which meta we are going for, but like I would say prospect is a very fair choice overall.
Yeah.
Like you have a lot of ways to play around the enemy. You can have crazy movement tricks and buffs and debuffs. You have some problems into like heavy vehicle armies because there you cannot really get your buffs on, and the damage can struggle a bit. On the other side, if it's just shooting, you don't really care because you can move block him just to death. So overall, it's just a really, really good thing to play with.
Yeah, teaches
But
you like really good fundamentals of Warhammer as well.
oh yeah, 100%. It's just the main thing is that this is also probably the hardest one to learn because
Mm.
you will go completely from I am a dwarf, I am tanky, I can do damage to I am a dwarf that is more like an Eldari kind of
Yeah.
playstyle. And this can hurt your brain a bit when you try to play the old ways. But if you once you let everything go and say, okay, I'm ready for something completely new, this is your way to go, detachment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What about the index? I think that's an interesting one.
Yes. So the index. The index, I would personally would say once again is like really up is really up a bit here,
Hmm.
and oh maybe actually no, actually just put it like
Yeah. I see what you're doing.
put
Yeah, I'll get it for
yeah.
you. Don't worry.
Thank you. So basically, I would say the index is a very fair choice again, but probably the best very fair choice
Yep.
because this is basically all detachment. Like we have the same strats, we have nearly the we have like not the same enhancements of course, but like in terms of we want to have a detachment that is kind of tanky that can do a lot of damage. This is your way to go. You have everything you want there. Problem for me in index is everything is too expensive and we are too unflexible, especially in terms of melee. Like we cannot
Mm.
have this mixed approach anymore in terms of we have our firing power with bikes that can also like turn one alpha strike and hekaton support. And we also had the berserks because we will at least missing one of these pieces. And a lot of games I feel like index has this big problem that in the end, if the enemy decides to just push into you, turn one, you don't have the damage to answer it, or if the enemy can just stage better than you, you cannot really have an answer to go
Mm.
for it. Especially because in the end, index is a stat check now, and
Yep.
if the enemy can answer your stat check, you will just lose.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's a bit face up on this one for sure. I think.
Yes.
Given when you see like how dynamic kind of some of the other detachments can be, namely I think Delph. Why don't we
Yes.
talk about Delph? I think this is your
My
favorite
favorite,
detachment, isn't it?
yes, it is. It is. It's like also,
Awesome.
it's. I think it's a favorite one for everybody to play against because there's so much. What exactly is
Yeah, it's
happening
pretty
here?
cool. Yeah, I love it.
And for me, the Delph one is definitely into overperform.
Nice.
Um, I would say just maybe even at the top of overperform, if you could put it
Cool.
there.
Yep. No problem.
So Delph, I would say, has probably one of the versatilest playstyles you can ever go for
Hmm.
because on one side, Berserks are now go crazy amount of ranges, and I honestly don't know an army right now in the game that has the power to shoot your home field to shreds like the Earthshakers are doing,
Hmm.
and then having the ability to basically port half your army just there and be an actual threat. Because even again, Grey Knights, of course, have like the ability to port around all the time, but you can just screen everything out, and then it's not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
Delph right now feels a bit like the old guard detachment where you could 3-inch deep strike with Xions.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not
Bridgehead.
not
Yeah.
Sions, with the what were we called again?
Bridgehead. Oh, you could, oh,
Yeah,
Aquilons. You could
yeah,
deep
the
stroke. Yeah.
Aquilons,
Yeah.
yes, the
Yeah.
Quickons.
Oh yeah. I
Because
wish we had that back.
oh no, me not. But yeah, it's like you can be everywhere. You have nearly damage against everything. Some matchups are really hard, but you can still things way around.
Hmm.
And just the poor ability of I can resurrect here, I can make 6 by consolidate, I have move and charge here, advance and charge there. It gives the enemy so much possibility to think about, and in the end, every enemy will still at one point decides he's too scared over your berserkers and will not push, or says, okay, let's see what the dices will happen, because if these berserks hit you, everything can happen and nothing can happen, like we
Yep.
saw David.
Yep.
And it's like a lot of ifs and coulds in this thing, but also it's like you had like a good wording for it. It's like if you gamble on one thing, it's bad, but if like you're like everything you could do is like a gamble where if you lose it, it's not the worst, but if it happens, it's like a really big win for you. You can
Mm,
do it
yeah.
like 4 to 5 times, then it
Yeah.
starts to be a really good tactic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Delph has a really cool dynamic of like it has forward pressure from like you can have a Hecaton with
Berserks.
berserks in them, and they move an average of 15 inches from the Hecaton before they charge, so very fast. They fight on death, so they against fight first, they're pretty relevant there, and they want to target objectives, obviously, because that you kind of need the +1 to hit. I think that's kind
It's
of a crucial part of playing this. And at the
100%.
same time, if you go second, you can up your downy for free 1 unit with your Uthar, and then you could like rapid ingress at the next turn, which means that you could hit like a side thing away from your away from your land fortress. So it's very dynamic actually. It's really cool actually. The only thing is the berserks did get like a little bit worse in that they're 1 wound apiece, but I think that I could see them coming down a little bit in points actually potentially,
Yes.
which would also mean that Dell would even get a lot better. So I think it's a really cool detachment actually. A completely like different way of playing Votann, which I guess all of these detachments basically are as well.
Yes, most of them. And I would think also, let's go. I mean, this is competitive overall, but just for everybody that playing Votann, take your time, play 1 or 2 turns with 12. You will have that much fun in the game. Every time you throw your dice on the Berserk, sometimes we'll sit there and be like, grudges overall. And sometimes we will be like, and this is 3 dead knights. Have fun.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's an amazing thing also in terms of like how you bring things back and everything. Like sometimes you're sitting there and be like, oh no, you don't killed all of them. Here is 18 infinity points. They are all back now.
I think Delve is probably the one I would jump into play if I was going to as
Yes.
well. And if you've got an existing collection, I guess this is an interesting point. If you have an existing
Mm,
collection, Delve does translate reasonably well here, I presume, right?
yes, most of the times the only problem is nobody played the Berserks with the X because the hammer was all the time better.
Ah,
So you would need to have some X's, but besides that, yes. Besides that, like everybody should have Jaggers, everybody should have a Hekaton.
mm,
Like in the end, the only thing you actually need to punch as new are the carriers.
yep,
Probably could be Buri,
yep,
depending if you want to play him, and like
yep,
Earthshakers. And besides that, everything you have, or you can like proxy because in the end, I think if you say these 10 berserks have the X, these 10 have the hammers, should
yeah,
work
goes
in
in account.
most of the environments
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
playing.
Hearthfire. This one seemed.
Yes. I mean, honestly, I would love to put it in very fair choice, but it's an underperformer to be
Yeah.
real in the end.
When you
Like,
think about it compared to the other detachments, right?
yes, just to
Mm.
compare it to other one. Of course, like this is the main thing where we can do. So like we can just put it here, maybe on
Hmm.
top of underperform in the end, but still,
Yep.
like everything this detachment do, you can do in other detachments, maybe the same or better.
Yep.
Um, like we talked a bit about some of the things in the masterclass. If you want to get a deep dive there, why it can still has play, but like where are the upsides and downsides. But just overall, like there's other detachments that can do the same trick just better.
Yeah.
We will
Exactly.
come now to.
And it kind of lacks a bit of damage in some ways, right?
Yes,
Hearthfire.
totally,
Yeah.
100%. It's just a big problem if you don't have the damage to support your actions, and the enemy can just say, then they will just run into you. Of course, you
Yeah.
will have some damage, but it's more like this one-shot shotgun. But you need to shoot 5 times because the game goes 5 turns.
Yeah. And last but not least, the infamous Brandfast. So let's
Yes.
contextualize this with whatever current iteration of stratagems we have right now.
Yes, and with that, it's like I would say. I mean, it's a bit tough to answer honestly because I
Hmm.
think if you have players that know all of the detachments as an enemy, I would consider it right now to be as good as Delve.
Hmm.
But this is not the case. Like, and I'm a special case because I already have like too much games in Votann.
Yeah.
Like, if someone texted me already and he was like, "Dude, man, you have more games now than I have in the last year combined." Um, but what is the good thing about Brandfrost? Brandfrost has probably the best and also stupidest and strat in the game.
Completely broken. It is by far. Nothing even comes close to
I
this
mean,
stratagem.
you know what we should do? Make Brandfrost old and Brandfrost new, something like
Ah,
that.
yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. Why don't I do Brandfast current and then
Yeah,
Brandfast fixed?
current and probably FAQ'd or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
So,
like once again,
just if you guys don't know, by the way, and if you're a non-Votan player watching this, Brandfast has a stratagem where you can disembark at the end of any phase, 6 inches. Uh, by the way, as Tim points out in the masterclass, you can also do that to come from strat reserve with a land fortress, disembark at the end of the reinforcements phase, 6 inches, and then make a 3 inch charge from strat reserves. So the amount of stuff you can do with that stratagem in its current iteration is just completely bonkers and dumb.
yes, like pretty sure that it's works like that. And even besides that, like the main parts there is basically you can just say Jaeger stand on a point, reactive move into something, then later disembark, or you
Yeah.
can just go for like Hekaton moves 10 forward and you disembark 6, then you can charge because you disembarked in the shooting phase, and like the
Mhm.
wordings don't stop you. And like there's a lot of ways how this strat right now breaking the game a bit.
Yep.
Um, and So if this is there and like this is how the way you should play, you will. This is basically the best right now because you still have some kind of damage that the enemy cannot just say, "I will push randomly into you."
Mhm.
But you can basically all the time have like 15 points in terms of primary, and the enemy cannot really deny that from happening. And because if he puts everything on the points, he will just die.
Yep.
If he doesn't put a point, you just get the points. Who would guess that? And especially because you can just say you're disembarking at the end of the command phase, your own command phase. So it's like nothing stopping you from
Yeah.
just saying, this is now my point, and nope, you cannot stop me from having this or having that. And I know that like there's on some things maybe even I have still like a little brain dead in terms of what is possible and what's not, because in one FAQ it's written that this is happening at interface, this is happening at interface, but it just shows how deep the strat just breaks the overall
Yep.
thing.
You could almost have just this one stratagem and 0 other stratagems in their whole detachment in its current
Would still be
iteration,
good.
and there
Yes.
would still be very compelling reasons to play this. In fact, it would still be a really, really, really good detachment. I mean, it's completely busted. What
Yes.
about, okay, so let's assume that this is fixed to something like at the end of your opponent's fight phase, maybe? End of the fight phase, maybe?
Yeah, let's just say it would be fixed in some way. So
Yeah.
for me, it's basically like if it's still like oh yeah, it's just but like
I
I will
got it.
just put it back and you can go for it. So like
Mhm.
if it's still something where I could like if I can disembark in like a turn where I can still get onto objective markers, I still think it will be auto included nearly
Yep.
because it takes much so things. And if it's like to be honest, if it's like a bit more down, because I think they will make it more like you can disembark end of the movement phase or end of shooting or something, so that it's like a bit more packed down that you can easily score. I would say it's an overperformer. This is something
Yeah.
like where I would put both of them in, and in the end we can argue a lot about it. We will see how it will get fixed, and of course if they like kill it completely, what also sometimes happened at Games Workshop, it could go really down in very fair choice or even underperformer,
Yep.
depending what happens. But this is like basically the main part where it could end, in my opinion.
Yeah, which I think, yeah, it goes to show like this is obviously a bit of a sketchy one. You know, as someone who is not affiliated with Games Workshop, I would say go and play it and do some dumb shit while it's out there.
Yeah, basically. Like if you want to have some fun, go for it. Just be prepared in terms when you say, okay, this is my go-to, and like in 6 or like let's say like in 1.5 months, I have my big major coming up. I now want to grind
Hmm.
Votann down. I would maybe wait a bit to see if this actually will still be there to be
Yeah,
played, because
I
we see
could.
already that some tournaments are banning it.
Yeah, I could honestly see some tournaments just having a house rule for this one
Yes.
because making a 3-inch charge from Deep Strike is just, I mean, from strat reserves is just game breaking anyway. Not to mention every single thing else that you could do with it, which just it creates a bunch of rules interactions which are just annoying to like actually solve as well. Like if you're at the table, like how often are you going to be calling judges for yes, by the way, this does work this way, etc., etc. Yeah, but Tim, I was going to say, what are your thoughts on Votann now and Votann as it previously did? If you had to give one piece of advice to the listener in terms of how to best improve while you're playing and some of these new detachments playstyle wise, what would it be?
I would say everybody should look a bit into, okay, what is my playstyle overall? Like, what do I favor? Do I favor more static? Do I favor more like kind of movement playstyle? Do I want to have melee power? Because everything is now in this codex, and then I would say, go if you have decided where you want to go, look a bit into the detachments and
Mm-hmm.
see which of these detachment fits the best of your playstyle, and then
Mm-hmm.
just play it. Play it, and not just for 2 times, not for 5. Play like 10 games if possible, because some of these detachments at first will just feel bad because you are in your old mind that you can just push in, you can do damage and win. It's not like that anymore, but give it some time. Like at first I was a bit dooming over it as well, and right now I am in a state where I say, oh, this and this looks really good, really fine.
Mm-hmm.
The only part is the old playstyle from Hekaton, Berserks, push, win. This is dead. Like you cannot
Yeah.
play this anymore, at least in the current situation where we are in terms of points and in terms of data sheets.
Yep. And there we go. That's the best way to think about it, which is exciting because there's such a new dynamic way of playing Votann, which is really rewarding, I think, the more games you get into it. Which I
Yes,
think means a
100%.
lot of these things are going to be quite deep in the long run in their strength. Awesome. There we go. Tim, it's been a pleasure having you on. Like we talked about before, the Votann Masterclass is available on 40K Fireside, where Tim and I go over, mainly Tim, goes over 5 hours of everything, all the data sheets, pros and cons, all the detachments, Votann and the meta ahead, which I thought was really interesting. And Tim and I will be doing a stream game coming up next week, probably sometime. And we're looking forward to it. Thanks, Tim.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the 40K Fireside. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, drop us a comment, check out the YouTube members area, and we look forward to seeing you again next time by the Fireside.